So today we're going to be taking a look at Zed at 3 differing rank points: Bronze, Emerald, and Challenger. This first one here is a Bronze 1 Zed main. Right out the gates, the first thing that really fascinates me is the setup that the Zed has actually gone for. He's actually opted in for the Conqueror setup, which is quite impressive. I do believe the Conqueror with Ignite setup, made famous by on Zed, I think in Korea, is a very, very solid setup. Obviously, it's a lot harder to execute than that of the El Clasico Electro Ignite lethality. The challenges you face with this setup is team fighting is a little bit more complicated, and also mid-game not having TP can add a lot of complications. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't review a lot of Bronze Zed players, so I am very intrigued to see the quality of play here. What are they? Where are they actually going wrong? And what are we going to see here today? Now, I don't know who this person is. I have not seen this VOD. I don't know what the hell I'm getting myself into here. So it's going to be a little, quite interesting. His setup is bang on. He's actually got the right runes here with the Nimbus as well and the Transcendence. So he's definitely looks like maybe he's been watching some on Zed there and copying some build parts. We have ourselves the Diana matchup, which is actually a bit of a pesky matchup for Zed. Diana has a lot of early damage, can stat check Zed, and can really close the gap and punish our high cooldowns with our W. So typically with this Conqueror iteration, we want to play probably a little bit slower. We take a little bit, a little while to come online. Holy moly, we're seeing an absolute fiesta already from level 1, standing our ground there with the Conqueror. Okay, I mean, yeah, Diana isn't really strong level 1. Diana needs usually level 2, elite, usually level 3 to trade, so we'll take it. Zed already off to a good start, burning the flash from the Diana and both pots. Definitely getting the shove here, getting the level 2 first. Diana fighting back aggressively, and then is able to get that level 2 spike, utilize that Ignite, proc the Electro, and get a kill. So out the gates, we are rock and rolling. Action pretty intense already. And look, what we're seeing already is just we're trying to do too much. Level 1 Zed is pretty darn weak. Level 2 Zed, pretty darn weak. We really want to be slowing down our early lanes, guys. Reference points are, getting the wave in nice conservative positions, whether it's keeping neutral state or even slightly on our side. We want to be, especially with this iteration, trying to get a pretty neat and tidy reset around, pickaxe would be a nice little convenient reset. Depends if you want to go Voltaic first or you want to go Eclipse first. But really just trying to slow down, get to level 6, get to level 7, and kind of scale beautifully into the mid game. Zed is not designed to do all this crazy shit in the early game. And look, sure, you can take good trades at level 3, but we definitely need to slow it down pre-level 3. So now we've really added a lot of complications. We've come back to lane with basically nothing. We've only got a longsword. The Diana actually did buy a pot, so we are up shit creek without a paddle. Now, this game, we're also versing a decent amount of CC. We've got Vi, we've got Shen, we've got Lux. Let's quickly backtrack a little bit and let's take a look at these trades. So at this stage, we get stat checked by a Diana. So really what we should be looking to do is keep distance, allow this wave to come out, avoid those Qs, try to bait those Qs out. The Zed is standing his ground inside the wave here. The initial short trade would have been better. We could have maybe done a fadeaway WEQ trade. These trades are not benefiting us as a Zed because through Diana's W, we're just not really going to have that trading capacity. And again, like I said before, we're playing this lane way too fast. So Zed is going for a reset on a non-cannon. Diana has very high wave clear. So if Diana realizes that we've recalled, she could just hard shove this wave and deny us the farm here. So smart by Diana to hard shove. And we are in a bit of a pickle. We've come back with double now the longsword and the boots. We still don't have any pots, and we're at a whopping 18 CS by 4 minutes 15 at this stage of the game, and Diana's not doing much better. So already what we're seeing is an overcomplication of early laning trading. We're seeing an overcomplication of even builds. Like there's no pots here, which is making our life a lot harder. You can even go, I actually don't even like longsword start with this particular iteration. I think in hard matchups, you can even get away with D shield. D blade for durability is also quite nice as well. So Diana, for some reason, didn't recall, though. So already we're seeing out the gates questionable resets. And now Zed, even though he's at was at a disadvantage, Diana missed the reset window and is now sitting in lane with very, very low mana here. And yeah, no pots. So Zed tries to kind of get some action started here and punish the Diner who hadn't recalled. And we're seeing consistently in these Bronze games, we saw it in the first episode with the Ara gameplay in Bronze, that, resets and wave management is a very big fundamental problem, regardless of the champion we're playing here. And so, Zed there comes back. Wave is still in a very awkward position. Vi was able to come through, and because we didn't ward and lean before we went in for the W, we get punished. And there's just one thing I just want to quickly highlight here, guys. If you're playing Zed and you're looking to use your W aggressively, you ideally want to be setting up your vision first before you go in. Now, we freeze frame, or we take a look at the map here. We have no idea where Vi is. Our jungler is ganking bot side. This is a crazy-ass aggressive W, considering that we had no flash and absolutely no vision on a high-threat jungler like Vi. So again, you can use that W aggressively trades. I like it, especially given here Dinah hadn't recalled. But try to utilize your lull states to, calibrate the map state a little bit more and grow our awareness of, if we are going to use our W aggressively, is this really a wise choice considering the map state? Okay, so getting back out on the map here, just to do a bit of a calibration, we're still on the double longsword. This guy does not like buying pots. Another trend I see in a lot of Bronze games. Again, we're just in a big power trough here, guys. Big power trough. So Dinah does use abilities on the wave, as you can see with Conk. Those short trades are really not that effective. And the idea reference points with this setup, guys, is that you're a mid-game menace. Your team fighting is significantly stronger. Your side laning, dueling capacity in the side lane is significantly stronger. But the downside is that your short trading in the early lane is lower. You take a while to come online because a lot of the time with this setup, you're not building as much lethality, and you're less front-loaded damage and more extended damage. So you can see how Zed is really struggling in these trades now. Dinah able to stat check us pretty easily. And this is where, as a Zed, I'd be keeping distance, really trying to keep waves in these nice little conservative pockets, CSing with Q, and really, if anything, using W somewhat reactively to stay nice and healthy. So yeah, we're in a bit of a pickle here. Bot lane is also struggling pretty hardcore. And to make matters worse, because we didn't go TP, which I think is fine, we're just getting punished for even worse, poor trades. If you go Ignite, the way I view it is that it's very, very good if you know your matchups. If you have that champ mastery, you know your matchups, you have consistent fundamentals, Ignite is very, very good. Obviously, it synergizes beautifully with Nimbus Cloak, with the Conqueror for staying in combat. That's kind of the thought process behind it. But if you don't have the fundamentals to back it up, you will get exposed very quickly. So we've gone for the quadruple longsword build. Not really something I've seen before, quite honestly. So I don't really know what the thought process is behind that. We'll see how it pans out. Again, a very odd build path for this particular setup as well. So we have got 6. Dinah has got 6. We've got Dinah has everything. Here we go. Dinah going in. We use our reactively, standing our ground, and we get a kill. I mean, these trades and these all-ins just never cease to amaze me. And I do want to replay this. I apologize, guys, for replaying, but I think this is just quite funny. So Dinah lands the Q, going for that beautiful short trade. R's in. Dinah probably fat fingers the double E on the wave there, so uses her second E there. Zed uses R reactively to avoid that R damage, and then uses the W, Q, auto. Dinah just face tanking every single shuriken, point blank, pure isolated with the Conqueror. We're able to kind of get the one shot. So look, quite honestly, it was well played from the Zed to use the R in reaction to the Dinah R. But Dinah, probably could have played that a little bit, taken those short trades first instead of going for the 100-0, anticipating Zed's R reaction. And then also, but look, to be fair, Zed did a good job of standing ground, understood that he had the triple shuriken, he had everything available, could use R reactively, and nice little solo kill. And so, what we're seeing here already is that kind of similar framework. The reset fundamentals are missing. The itemization is a hit or miss. The wave management is a hit or miss. And most importantly, there is a lack of understanding of how the kits fundamentally interact. Dinah didn't really probably have a great idea about how, Zed interacted with the R. And, great learning from Dinah. I guess you don't know what you don't know. As long as you're being hypercritical of that in the postgame, that's all that matters. Anyway, so getting back to this, Zed's sitting on about 900 gold. He chooses not to reset during that little window. So he's still sticking around. I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's quite healthy. Zed doesn't have mana, so it's not the end of the world. It would have been good to maybe convert some of these longswords into some completed components, but he's raw dogging it here. So now that Zed's R is down, I mean, Dinah's just going to win those short trades. One of the challenges facing Dinah is that you really got to try and space those Qs. Those Qs will really hurt you. And at this stage of the game, as a Zed, we're very squishy. So again, we need to bring it back to Zed reference points. Slow this baby down. We need to try and get to our key items here. I don't know what he's building here. We'll find out soon enough. And we can start being a nuisance for this Dinah later on. You're moving into that mid game. So we shove the wave. It looks like the enemy are going for a grubs here. Dinah's come back. This would be a beautiful reset window. Dinah flashing forward for the Q. Misses it. Doesn't quite get into range. This guy's flexing his mastery because he's obviously an incredibly good Zed player and he's just better than this guy. And he has to show him his boss. Baits in the ER and just flexes on this Diana. I mean, this guy's just got to do the walk of shame back to lane. I mean, holy moly, this is a spectacle. So you can kind of see how the Zed has an understanding, I guess, of how the kits interact. I think he kind of knows this end goal of maybe what he wants to do. It's the how and the steps to get there, I think, are missing in between. But holy moly, yeah, there's some confidence there with his with his ability usage. So we can see that he's starting to work to his core items here. He's still sitting on the double longsword, so he's got the pickaxe, got the core fields. So he's in a much better position now. Dinah's now wasted R again. This Dinah's probably very frustrated from the mastery flex, continuing to flex that mastery. And then, now we're approaching the back end of the lane. So typically at this stage of the lane as Zed, we really want to basically just shove and hover. We have really good wave clear. We have a decent amount of AD. Still, we don't need to panic too much. We're not even on our first core item yet. Weaving in those WEQs situationally, especially when we have eyes on the Vi. Take a bunch of damage there. You can see this Zed's warding is very inconsistent. I mean, I don't think they know what a warding window is. I don't think they've really gone for a ward this entire lane. There's been no raptor wards, no ledge wards. Using W quite aggressively, relatively willy-nilly. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Zed dies to a lot of ganks. So Zed goes in, Dinah misses the R, and we get a beautiful little kill. So, yeah, look, Zed is definitely playing with confidence here, finding those windows. And look, I don't know if this was intentional from Zed to kind of wait for, I don't know, I don't really know how much of this is just pure opportunistic, but yeah, finds the angle, lands the WEQ combo. Dinah doesn't know how to react. Dinah didn't have any pots, stayed in lane quite low. We found the way to use our ignite, and lovely. So we're starting to definitely pick up our farm. Vi comes through, and we die to that gank. Okay, so definitely some threat assessment problems there. So what we're going to do, we're going to skim forward a little bit. Let's just get back onto the map here. Zed is now completed the Eclipse. I love the Eclipse build path personally. It'll be interesting to see whether they go Eclipse into Voltaic or Eclipse into Black Cleaver. There's a lot of different kind of build paths at the moment with this specific iteration with the Conch. And this is where Zed can be a nuisance. Level 9 Eclipse, especially into these lower range matchups, it's very difficult for Dinah to get through the shield. And we can kind of just stand our ground, especially Dinah pre-first item. So Zed's very much now online, ready to go, and has definitely stabilized the game a little bit here. So he finds himself in a bit of a pickle. Vi on that bot side. Vi doesn't have R though, so we're not under a ton of threat. Dinah is really starting to struggle here. So what I'm going to be looking for from Zed here is, how is Zed able to shove and move around the map, and how are they going to navigate into the mid game? And as you can see, there's some solid skirmishing here. Definitely a lot of confidence. Baits into the Volibear beautifully. He's able to take that extended kind of fight. Little bit of threat assessment problems into the Shen. But we're starting to see from the Zed player, he knows how to scrap. He actually knows, I think, for the most part, his damage output. He plays with confidence. But you can see how there's still some gaps in his threat assessment that, definitely could be bolstered up over time. So I'm going to skim forward in the VOD a little bit, and we're gonna see if we can get to some meat of the mid game. So I'm actually just going to go straight to 18 minutes here, and we're going to play it out from here. So he's actually gone for the Umbral Glaive second item, which is very interesting. Not really what I would have expected as a second item here. Not my personal favorite. I guess it does give you a bit of haste, which is very, much needed with the Conqueror setup. So, but we'll take a look. So what we're going to be taking a look at here is now that bot lane tower is broken, what is Zed going to do? How is he going to navigate this mid game? Because this is where a lot of people struggle in Bronze, is they know if they play champs like Yone or Zed or Silas or whatever, they can rack up a few kills, they can scrap here or there, but they struggle to know how to navigate the mid game, especially when they're going Ignite here. So we really need to be getting this base off. Looks like he's just trying to keep this mid tower alive, ends up getting slain by the Lux. So we'll fast forward here, wait till we get into the mid game, the side lane. Okay, so let's see what the Zed does. On 2 items, level 11. We've got Adakan coming up in 30 seconds on top side. Mordekaiser doesn't have TP either. So really what we want to be doing is positioning ourselves probably away from the Shen into the Diner. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. I would say it probably makes a little bit more sense for us to be deploying top side, letting Twitch go mid, and then trying to get into the side lane. It makes a lot more sense for us to deal with the Jhin in the side lane than the Twitch. But here we go. We've decided to stay in mid lane. Volibear's catching bot wave, which is interesting. And this is where the Fiesta is going to begin. So his team is definitely looking for something on top side. Could have shoved and hovered. I mean, guys, we're not an A-ramming champion. We don't want it to be sieging mid tower as a Zed. What I want to be seeing here is collecting these waves and moving. Holy moly. So go commits to the R and then just die. I mean, guys, what are we doing here? Why are we sitting under the tower flexing our mastery? I mean, we get it, but realistically, you've got scraps happening on top side. Where's the shoving and moving? Shove, hover, get comfortable hovering halfway, assessing the scenario, getting back on waves. Your lane assignments don't need to be perfect, but you don't want to be sitting here in the middle of the lane like this. Now, the reason this is also quite suboptimal is Lux hasn't used the Q. Lux is holding onto the Q. So now we come in, we get instantly bound. We're in a 1v2 scenario. Sure, we trade 1-for-1, but for what? What does that really do? We just trade our life with the support. And you can kind of see how, from Zed's perspective, and what I see with a lot of Bronze players is that when they don't know what to do, when they're confused, they just tunnel vision on the person in front of them. And this Zed had that kind of effect. He's like, oh, I see a swishy Lux. Let's go in. Rather than trying to be more aware of their teammates' location and hover their team in around these neutral objectives. So our team is finishing off the Dragon. We kind of see Dinah hovering in the area and the Vi. What I would have liked to see is maybe some more dynamic pathing through the jungle through over here, but it looks like we're beelining on that bot wave. We see a lot of fighting going on here. We see Jhin and Lux on top side. So this is these lol sets, guys. As I said, we need to be calibrating. Where is everyone? What's going on? Can I put my body in the area to help these guys? And he's just said, nah, screw you. I'm going straight to the side lane. Look, it is what it is. His team win. But again, at this stage of the game as a Zed, especially you're approaching your third item, getting close to your third item, we want to be definitively looking for shove and moves. And here in this case, we've got free access to a tower. We could probably just play for it. So we'll fast forward a little bit here. Starts whacking away at the tower. I don't mind this play here. The enemy can't really do Adakan on the other side of the map. So it looks like we're sieging with the Rift Herald here. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of sieging. You can temporarily be here, but I would be more inclined to just make sure it crashes and get out of here. Okay. Not a bad little combo here. We'll take a look at the combo. When you are versing hard CC, what you really want to be doing is try to use your W first, then R. So he did go for the W, walks up an R, so that gives him the flexibility to avoid the bind there. So because you get the insta pop to the W rather than the R. So well played. Again, nice little opportunistic kill. And really, I'm looking for the shove and moving capacity. So we're just chilling here, turning into another extended fight. We do not have our R available, so we've got to be very careful here. I personally, for one, would be trying to get my team maybe, disincentivized to take this trade. And what we're seeing here is Zed influencing with his body language. He's trying to send these kind of, maybe subconsciously, without even realizing, he's kind of sending signals to his team that he wants something to happen here. We don't want something to happen here. You're sitting on 1,500 gold. You have no ultimate. Why are we just running into the jungle by ourselves? What are we doing here, guys? And again, he's lost. He's absolutely lost. He has no idea, no clue. He's like, all right, well, I mean, I've kind of got the wave and, I feel kind of strong, so let's just go hunting. So he's just going hunting, walks over a ward, face checks the Vi. his team is recalling away from him, but doesn't give a flying fuck and ends up just dying for free. I mean, just sloppy. And I mean, quite honestly, there's not really much to say about this. He's lost. He doesn't really know what he's doing. So, the advice I would really give to this bronze player, what he really needs to do is start growing his awareness of his teammates' location. He needs to get comfortable doing nothing. He needs to get comfortable just shoving waves and hovering, or even spending your goddamn gold, and then getting back on the map and attending those key fights. It doesn't need to be sophisticated. Just sometimes less is more. So an interesting little first VOD here. Let's move on to another one. I think we've got a decent idea of a Bronze Zed now, which is quite interesting. Now, for those of you who are interested in playing Zed, refining your Zed, learning Zed, we've actually got a really comprehensive Zed guide in the Midland Academy done by our very own Mysterious, who is a Challenger EUS player. This goes from everything into runes and builds, laning phases, dealing with high threat compositions, mid-game execution, how to actually fight with Zed. That's a really big one. We've got, many, many, many examples. This video alone is a 19-minute video covering fight after fight after fight after fight, learning objectives, and able to help you understand the Zed learning journey for those people who are newer to Zed. So no matter where you're at in your Zed journey, you're going to get a lot of value here. If you're interested, check it out below. There'll be a link in the description to join the Midland Academy. So moving on to our second game, this is an Emerald 2 Zed. He's actually opted in for the Electrocute setup. So if we can quickly take a look at his runes here. So he's opted in for the Electro. He's opted in for Taste of Blood. He's got secondary kind of Transcendence with Scorch. He's got the Treasure Hunter, which I love. Okay. Zed Eve, really, really nice, solid combo. Scales beautifully into the mid game. Now, this game we are versing a TF and a Nocturne, so a decent amount of threat. Typically when I'm moving into a game of Zed, I'm really looking for what key threats they have onto me. The good things, Nami, relatively low CC. Zaya, pretty easy for us to handle because of, no limited CC. And even though, yes, Zaya can negate our R, we've got good multi-threat, so that's not a massive problem. The only thing that really bothers me this game, I would say, as a Zed is, I guess Nocturne R can be a little bit annoying, but the TF gold card, that's something we're going to have to be really cognizant of and see how Zed plays around that. But yeah, if I'm ever playing with something like an Evelyn, I just want to kind of chill, get to the mid game, and then we can just rip open the side lane. So be interesting to see the quality of the early lane. And again, we'll get into the mid game to see what sort of macro decisions we're seeing at an Emerald 2 caliber. So what I would be expecting here comparing to the bronze game is a lot more of a slower, patient early lane. Playing in accordance to our key spikes. The Zed in the previous game was really just sending it, cooking it through the entire early lane, playing way too fast. And you can already see the contrast, even into a TF. We're keeping our distance. We're allowing ourselves to get shoved in. We're understanding that Zed level 1 is a bit of a sack of shit. So just really keeping it neat and tidy here. And especially since we've gone Ignite, which I like with the Electro especially. I even like with the Conqueror, but just especially with Ignite, you just want to keep, especially with Electro, keep it neat and tidy. We don't want to be taking unnecessary damage because we don't have TP to give us a get out of jail free card here. So we're allowing ourselves to get shoved in. This TF also doesn't have TP. He's opted in for the first strike. We go for a nice little level 2 trade. Can't quite land it. Good crack either way to try and proc that first strike off the TF. And we're really just chilling here. See if I can pan the camera down so we can kind of see the lane properly here. I'm kind of increasing my skill of camera management here. I feel like I'm an observer in there. Oh, I feel like I'm an observer in the LCS or something. Anyway, so TF's chilling, just shoving us in. It seems like it's going relatively slow paced lane, which we don't mind as a Zed. Now at level 3, we can definitely start to look for some nice little WEQ traits. So, I'd be looking for WEQs timed with last hits. This TF is now respecting us a lot here. So here we go. Zed posturing up aggressively. Very rushed on that WEQ. I would have liked to see a WE slow than Q. TF makes the rookie mistake of walking past the shadow. We capitalize beautifully, and we get a beautiful trade. It's a very common mistake when people first said they kind of step past that shadow. They forget we can pop to it, and we take a really nice trade. So Zed's got a lot of control here. Nocturne doesn't have the greatest early gang threat. Nocturne walks up into us. We land a beautiful WEQ, pop that Ignite, maybe even a little bit overkill with the Ignite, but beautiful kill. Great stuff. And as you can see, already comparing to the bronze VOD, a lot more patient, levels 1 and 2, got to our level 3, started to take those trades. and then definitively getting in the wave here. So resetting would be lovely here. We can definitely stay for one more then recall if we want to. It's a non-cannon. I don't think I would have wasted my WEQ on this Nocturne. There's no way we're going to kill this guy. What we should be doing here is conserving our WEQ for this wave, so then we can hard shove into a reset, right? The faster the better, again, because we don't have that TP. But yeah, really, really solid early lane here so far. We might have to trade some HP for a reset. Because we wasted that WEQ, our wave clear is so much slower, and yeah, getting a reset here is going to be a little bit uglier. So it is a cannon. We'll see if Zed commits to the recall. Very greedy base location here towards the center of the lane. Oh, man, that's ugly. Yeah, I mean, really sloppy, quite honestly, very sloppy. And what I notice high level with players who play champs like Zed, skirmish-oriented champions, is that, yeah, they hit or miss with their fundamentals. A lot of the time they kind of compensate for questionable fundamentals with just good quality fighting, good quality trading, good quality understanding of their limits. And so we're already kind of seeing inklings of that. I don't want to make too many judgments this early on, but yeah, but that missed reset window and that just sloppy sequence with the W is quite questionable. So anyway, so TF just disappears. I don't know where TF's gone. He's only level 5, so he's just disappeared. We end up coming back for a Dirk. We are in a very good position. TF actually went for a second recall for additional durability. He's going for the rower. So we're in a nice little spot here. We're approaching level 6. We're going to have a decent amount of kill threat onto the TF here. We're rock and rolling. So there's no pressure on us as a Zed here. We've got that Evelyn in our back pocket. We've got beautiful little mid jungle 2v2. Still very trigger happy on those Qs. Okay, we're seeing a bit of an all-in, some sloppy Qs there, but I love the intention. So quite honestly, Zed's doing a great job intention-wise. I can see exactly what he's trying to do. He's just rushing his Qs a little bit too much. He doesn't need to be that trigger happy. Sometimes, overcooking something is a little bit better than undercooking. That's kind of my saying, If we're cooking chicken, it's okay to overcook it. It's not okay to undercook it, unless you want some food poisoning. So, yeah, again, great WEQs, combos great, punishing this TF for walking past our shadow, but just failing to execute on the back end. He definitely loves a greedy recall here. Okay. Mate, just step back a little bit. You don't need a base on vision unless you're trying to do that intentionally. I don't know, but here we go. Does hold the W. Very intelligent. Does understand that Nocturne had kill threat. He could have W'd that wave there, but chooses to hold it. TF comes back. Have to burn the flash. But to be honest, if you're trading your flash for like Nocturne R, I think that's completely fine. We're not really super flash reliant on Zed. So I actually like that. I can't tell how intentional Zed was, but as a general premise, our job as a mid laner sometimes is to relieve pressure from the rest of the map. If you're dragging the jungler to your lane and you're wasting their time, you're burning their cooldowns, that's going to have a net positive impact on the holistic game, right? So, yeah, we're doing okay. Could have been an additional kill onto that tier from before, but not the end of the world. We're doing an okay job. So this build, when you're going Electro with that early Dirk, you definitely spike a little bit earlier, level 6 with that early lethality. Spike, heavily on that one item. Nami comes through here. We know that Nocturne is dead and just doesn't have us. We're not really under a ton of threat. And really what we want to be looking for here is just consistent WQ trades, making sure that TF's not playing for the wave for free. I love how he's not WQ in the wave and just walking up like that. I love how he's just really putting the pressure onto this TF, not letting him play co-op versus AI, because the last thing we want is TF to just shove and move around the map. So I can kind of see the intention here from the Zed. I will say, again, we're seeing nearly with every single trade here that he's being very, very trigger happy. Very, very trigger happy with his Qs. So again, beautiful WQ. Into the R, punishing the no flash. Excellent, pretty straightforward. And look, TF's doing a pretty poor job of spacing our WQ combo. We'll take it though. This is what I've found, that Zed players don't need to have the most sophisticated, mechanics a lot of the time, especially in these elo brackets, because most people just don't bother to learn how Zed operates. That's what I found. People are very, they really develop some pretty insane mental blocks versus champ. So We're snowballing. We got Alawi rock and rolling on top side, 3-0. Evelyn's just perma-farming. Bot lane's relatively even. We're still not yet on our first item, but we're doing okay. We're well on track to kind of scale into that mid-game. So TF has got that catalyst. TF does have arm. Not a massive fan of that WQ there. We see Nocturne on that top side. We don't have R, so we're significantly in a power trough here. As Zed, especially with this iteration of Zed, we are quite R-reliant. So this is where we really want to be slowing it down, relaxing, and then kind of just trying to get into that mid-game with the Evelyn. Now, the great thing about having Evelyn on your team is that TF doesn't know where Evelyn is, and whenever Evelyn is not showing, this guy has to play as if Evelyn is in the area, and it's very obnoxious. Very, very, very obnoxious, especially with the damage split there between the lethality of the Zed and the raw AP from the Evelyn. So what I would like to be seeing, okay, we do get some wards out. Definitely an upgrade from the previous VOD with the previous Zed not really kind of forgetting that they have a ward button. But yeah, we're slowing it down. Neat and tidy wave management here. Even though Zed is going to get, TF's going to get a bit of a prio, we can just try and make him sweat. We're actually up in farm. This TF is massively overshoved in a lot of these instances. So we've been able to kind of zone a little bit, kind of maybe coincidentally. R is now back up. So if we can land some good damage, we may be able to look for some fights. We don't know where Nocturne is, and Nocturne hasn't showed on the map. Does have R. Okay. Well played. I mean, did know that TF had access to W, but doesn't give a shit and executes perfectly, landing both of those Qs. Let's just take a look at this. So we get the WEQ, we kite back, we walk back to maybe influence with our body language that we're not taking it. We pop instantly into the TF there and go for that beautiful, double shuriken. Well played. Really well played. Great execution. Very decisive. I mean, look, I will say, just playing devil's advocate, that considering we did not know where Nocturne is, this is personally not the play that I would make. Because why? Why would we flip it? We're in a very commanding position. Your Alawi's already winning topside. Your Evelyn's just chilling, clearing camps. We don't know where Nocturne is. How do we know that right now Nocturne's not just going to R us on the back end and kill us? We have nothing. We have no W. We have no flash. We have no R. You're just dead. Right? So, look, this is one of those plays where, yes, it works, congratulations, but in an alternate reality where Nocturne comes by, you're just dead. And look, something I'll be interested to kind of compare is, will we see this sort of kind of lower percentage, more coin flippy gameplay from someone that is maybe in the higher ELO brackets, in Challenger? So it'll be interesting. We'll kind of cross that bridge later on. So we've now got our hubris. We're snowballing beautifully. And in a game like this, it's really about protecting that bounty and not overcomplicating it. We don't need to brute force anything. We've got so many win conditions. We've got Evelyn, we've got Alawi, we've got ourselves. Nocturne has no R now. We can kind of do whatever the hell we want. So TF is odd. I don't know where TF are to. Did he R bot side? Where the hell is he? If I put the... Yeah, so it looks like he did R bot or something. I don't know where he went there. I love how Zed didn't overcomplicate it and just stayed mid and hit plates. I love that. Big fan. So what I want to do now, because now we're just in the late stages, I actually want to skim a little bit into mid games. This is where I think the meat of the game is going to be. So we're just snowballing. What I want to do is I want to get right into the 15-minute mark. I want to get to where the lane assignments are going to get swapped up here, because this is where the mess begins. Okay, so we've got 2 items, very, very fed members across the board. Bot lane tower is broken. It looks like Alawi swapped onto bot. TF is bot as well. So it looks like we're deploying topside. Rift Herald is the next major neutral objective here. So this is where complications begin. So at a high level, reference point wise, what we want to be doing is we want to be kind of diving onto the squishies with our Evelyn. Now, there's many ways we can do that. We can keep it neat and tidy and just play around neutrals because we're so goddamn far ahead. We could probably even play side and call for hover if you really wanted to. You could deploy side and just ping assistance from the Evelyn and get Evelyn to hover. There's many ways to play it, but as long as we're not trying to be a hero and do things by ourselves, that's the most important thing. And something that I want to constantly reiterate in a lot of these mid-game sequences, guys, is that your macro doesn't need to be sophisticated. It just needs to have some sort of foundation of sense behind it. Like, why are you making the decisions you're making? I would have liked to see here him going in top and Jin mid, but it looks like Jin was at the fight, so I don't mind covering a wave here. So lovely. Our team looks to be kind of finishing off the Rift Herald here. Excellent. I mean, what I would want to see at some stage is swapping the lane assignments. We get caught under the tower. And what did I say just before, guys? What did I say just before? We don't need to be a hero. This is the thing. Sometimes the best play in League, guys, is to not make a play. We can't help ourselves. Imagine in an alternate reality where we just don't even touch this way. We let Jin go mid, we go top, or vice versa. We cover one midway while Jin's recalling, then go top. The game would be so much easier. We're just making the game so much harder for ourselves. And this was something that we saw also in the previous Bronze Zed gameplay, where that Zed couldn't help himself. When there was nothing to do and there wasn't anyone in front of him that he could kill, he just went in. And we're inducing a lot of chaos in this game. So Alawi is starting to pressure Nocturne on bot. Evelyn's starting to run Rampage in the mid game. I'm sure we've all been there versing a fed Evelyn. And so similar to before, what I'm going to be looking for is how is this Zed going to navigate the mid game? So we'll fast forward here. Does get into the side lane, which is good. We know Nocturne doesn't have R. Evelyn's on top side. I mean, we can pretty freely just shove out bot, maybe look for a shove and move. Very unnecessary W there, but maybe is worried about the Nocturne. I don't know. TF is on mid, so we're chilling. And this is one of those games where we don't mind versing Vlad or TF because we're just so far ahead and Vlad's so far behind. Usually Vlad would be a little bit annoying, but in this case, we're chilling. So what I'd really be wanting to see here is, look, you have choices. You can call for hover from Evelyn and get your Evelyn to hover you in the side lane, ping assistance. You could also just shove and hover mid. Either of those are completely fine. So it looks like Evelyn is hovering us in the side lane, which makes our life a hell of a lot easier here. We've got the sweeper sweeping around the edges. Try to go for a WEQ here. You know, this is a sketchy play. Guys, where is the Nocturne? Where is the TF? We don't know. So unless our Evelyn is right next to us, we can't make this play because we don't have the information to go for it. Our 80 carry is not even on the map yet. Our allow is not pressuring yet. All we have to do here, guys, is just wait. Just chill. Get the wave. Hold your W for defensive purposes. Wait for your Evelyn to either make or pick, or wait for Alawi to start pressuring the side lane or Jin to get back out on the map. And then, look, if you waited for your team to get back on the map, let's say Alawi was pressuring up here, or your team was all the way up here, sure, you know, Nocturne trying to kill you is okay, right? Because then your team can get something off the back of it. But because there's no neutrals and your team isn't in the area, we're just dying for free, guys. We're just dying for free. And it's tying into that same mentality where we can't help ourselves. It's not about the quality of your fighting at this stage of the game for what we're seeing. It's about the quality of the macro decision. It's about when to say yes and when to say no. And it's this inability to sync up pressure with the team. And it's an inability to understand how to pressure the map in accordance to where your teammates are. And what was an incredibly simple, which could have been an incredibly simple transition of leads, we're just overcomplicating it. We're really overcomplicating it. Now, we'll look at maybe one more deployment here because we're kind of seeing the same thing on repeat. Our team is fighting on top side. This is a great opportunity for us as a Zed to shove it all the way out. We've got Dragon coming up. We've got Adakan coming up. Whether or not our team die on top side, we don't give a shit. So here we go. Fast forwarding. Shove, 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 shove. And then what we want to be doing is we want to be waiting for our team to redeploy. We might even be able to snag a tier 2 if we're careful, but never using your W aggressively here because, you know, we need our W for defensive purposes. Now, again, look, freeze frame here for a second. Where is the enemy team? Where's the Nocturne? Our entire team is dead, if not about to recall on the other side of the map. So look, if you wanted to really min-max and like you could maybe hold your W, sit against this wall, W, and if they are you can W over the wall, try to escape. Alternatively, you could just shove the wave in, maybe even hover mid, cover mid-wave while we wait for our team to redeploy back on the map so we can be nice and healthy for these next neutral objectives. So we're seeing, again, maybe a lack of understanding of key threats, feeling pressured to make a play. Maybe he's autopiloting, having a beer on the side. I don't know. But it's just the same thing, rinse, repeat, guys. So completely lost in the mid-game, a failure to sync up with the team, a failure to say no, a lack of understanding of teammates' location, and completely honest, gone from 4-0, to like 5-3. You know, so both the bronze and the emerald mid games have been, you know, quite similar. Definitely the caliber of fighting from Zed a little bit better, but quite disappointing. So we're moving on to the third VOD. This is actually Laceration, a pretty famous Zed OTP on the North American server. And we're going to be taking a look at one of his recent games. So just quickly, I guess where I want to start is the setup. He's opted in for the Electro, the Sudden Impact, which I do prefer over the Taste of Blood. Ultimate Hunter instead of Treasure Hunter, and then he's got the Transcendent Scorch. So very much a more lethality-based build here with the Electro Ignite, which I think in this game makes a lot of sense. You're versing a lot of squishies. You've also got a lot of, you got some AP multi-threat with the Nico on top side. So opting in for the D-Shield start into the Zoe, which I do like. Zoe's a pain in the ass. In my opinion, one of Zed's hardest matchups if the Zoe is competent. I remember watching a video of On Zed talking about how if you're versing a good Zoe, you're just AFK for the first few minutes. So we're interested to see how he minimizes, especially without having TP. We've got a Briar, so pretty good threat, but they also have really strong mid-jungle 2v2. What makes this game a little bit tricky is the enemy have some annoying abilities. I mean, you've got the your point-and-click CC from the volley, which is annoying. You've got Bard R, which can be a little bit frustrating in the mid-game. You've got Fiora Riposte, which basically completely negates your R, and you've got Zoe Bubble as well. So a lot of annoying shit, really, to be honest with you. So it'd be interesting to see how this goes. So he warded level 1 there. So I don't really know what the intention of that ward is. So we've seen so far in the Bronze and Emerald, we've seen the Bronze player played the lane very fast, too fast, didn't play in accordance to our key spikes, took way too much damage, overcomplicated the early lane. The Emerald player played it a lot slower, a lot more patient. Maybe, but there was room for improvement in the quality of the ability usage, missing too many WEQs here. So we've taken a lot of damage here, level 1. It'll be interesting to see the level of poise and kind of attention to detail with the traits. I actually personally don't watch or haven't watched any of Laceration's content, so I actually don't know the caliber of his Zed. I've kind of more so just watched On Zed for Zed players. Now, getting shoved in, very nice creative trade here. I don't know if I fully agree with the heavy trade. I mean, how is this really going to benefit us? I guess we have D-Shield, but Zoe has TP. Sure, we have Ignite, but I don't think this benefits us whatsoever. I don't think Briar has any threat, especially into the Volibear jungle, into the Zoe. I think this heavy trade is not ideal. I would have liked to see this be playing way slower. So missing a lot of farm here. Mental stack overload, and this was what really makes Zoe an annoying matchup. She's relentless with her poke, beautiful reactive WEQ there over the bubble. I mean, Zoe's being a little bit too trigger happy there, and really nice opportunistic trade. Very good reaction. So well played. I mean, look, he shut me up real quick. I was saying, well, what's the point of heavy trading? But he obviously has an understanding of how these Zoe players play in his games, and he knows that these Zoes are going to overstep. This is completely different to how I've seen playing the Korea server. So well played to him. And what I love about this, guys, is that because he was so decisive here, this pressure relief and the threat of Ignite forces the Zoe to flash preemptively, and now instantaneously, no hesitation, knows he has to hard shove this to get a recall, otherwise he's going to be stuck in lane. So insta hard shove, no hesitation, and we're seeing that difference as well comparatively to the Emerald Zed, where there was some sloppy awareness of what wave we need to hard shove, and then in terms of getting recalls, we're sloppy as well. So this is obviously a different caliber of early lane intention, fundamentals with resets, trading, and wave management already. So really, really, really good. So that actually helps. We're able to get that early recall. Zoe doesn't have any pots, which is good for us. We've come back with the pot and the longsword. Briar off to an okay start as well. So waves coming in, neat and tidy. It'd be interesting. Okay, doesn't pull the wave. Sometimes you might want to see Zeds pull the wave and keep the wave in this pocket here, but that's okay. Briar in the river looks like a 2v2. I don't really want this. Yep, just get the hell out of here. I love how Zed doesn't compensate. Just takes a nice little trade on the back end. Beautiful WEQ. We're already seeing as well the difference in the accuracy between that past Emerald Zed and Laceration here. Okay, so trying to focus on our farm. As you can see, very, very annoying. We're getting shoved in. Minions at awkward HP points. The splash damage of that Q causing us some problems. Okay, so I love this. So look at the positioning, by the way, guys. Look at this positioning. I want to just go back. So at this point right now, right, you can see how Zoe doesn't have any pots, okay? So what we're doing from a positioning perspective, we're kind of using these minions as a little bit of like a blocker for the Q. But then when we see Zoe walk up, and it looks like Zoe's going to be going for the wave, Zed pops out of the minions, steps up, and now makes Zoe make a choice between us and the wave. And the great thing about this is that now, if Zoe wants to play for the bubble, she can't because we can W over it. But if she can't play for the wave without taking that WQ to the face. So really intentional positioning. Wow. So it looks like he thought he could maybe sidestep that incoming bubble. It looks like he was trying to zone the Zoe from that cannon there. But yeah, couldn't quite sidestep the bubble. So I respect the confidence. Didn't quite work out, but I respect the confidence. But again, it's that attention to detail with the trades and the small little things such as that positioning, putting the pressure on the Zoe here. Very, very important. So trying to find the Zoe just in case she's going for a recall. Probably has a hypothesis here that Zoe's going for that reset. So we're looking for the hard shove. Just double checking whether or not Zoe's here. It'll be interesting to see if you go for a recall soon. So, wow. Look at that decisiveness, guys. Sees Zoe stay, knows Zoe doesn't have that flash. Instant, no hesitation. Guys, look at this, no hesitation. Sees the Q down, boom, pops over the bubble, pretty straightforward. So we're seeing just that next level of intentionality with abilities, that next level of decisiveness. And, remember, guys, we're playing at a very high level here. So the fact that he's solo killing these people is, it's not a random Emerald Zoe. It's a Grandmaster / Challenger Zoe. So really impressive stuff. So sends it with the flash ult onto the volley, does trade 1-for-1 under tower, and now we're working towards that eclipse. It seems all voltaic probably. So nice. We're in a very good position. So R down, both sums are down, worth noting. So we're in a little bit of a trough here while our summoners and our R's on cooldown. So really what we're going to be looking for here is minimization, basically just trying to slow down the lane and try to complete our item or buy time for our ultimate to come back up here. Okay, so CSing this under tower. One thing that I'm really loving or enjoying at the moment is again the anticipation of these bubbles here, but does get caught off guard by a very creative bubble from the Zoe through that fat wall. So props to the Zoe here. Trying to get as much farm as we possibly can. Definitely getting poked down massively, and we don't have really much threat here without that R. Some questionable bubble usage from the Zoe here. Okay, so it looks like our team comes through to relieve a little bit of pressure. Trying to clear that wave. Very decisive recall if he does commit to it. I mean, Zoe doesn't have the greatest wave clear. Zoe could freeze, though. Is he going to commit to the recall? Look, guys, this is a very interesting one. I respect this. So basically what's happened, right? He's thought to himself, okay, I'm in trouble. I've really taken some questionable trades. I've got no pots. I'm getting very low. I don't have enough threat on the Zoe. So I can't slow build out this wave. I don't have the threat. So he's thinking to himself, okay, well, my team's moving in. I can't offer anything. So you know what? I'm just going to go down a bit of farm just to come back to stay nice and healthy and increase my adaptability. So that by the time I do have my R, I can actually increase my threat. So yes, we are going to go down maybe 3 melees, maybe even an entire wave. We'll see how it pans out. But at least this way, we're not going to be under kill threat. And by the time our R comes back up, we can actually do something. So this is something I've noticed with Zed players is that because your lane can be quite hit or miss, you're not the strongest laner, especially into other strong laners, objectively strong laners like that of like Victors or Zoes and things like that. We sometimes just have to take the L. We sometimes have to be like, you know what? This sucks. We're in a bit of a lose-lose scenario. So it's like, what is the least bad option out of all of the bad options, if that makes sense. So really, really decisive reset. We're seeing the caliber and the difference of the resets, and the overall fundamentals comparatively to that Emerald Zed for sure. And I actually didn't think we would see a ton of difference in the lane, but we've definitely seen a massive difference, specifically in the wave management and and those resets. So guys, let's take a look at this. So basically what happens here is we see Zoe waste that bubble. So now Laceration knows that bubble's down. Here we go. We walk up. We want to start with the R. This gives us way more flexibility with our W placement. Beautiful. Very, very patient on the WQ. Look at the patience. We're not rushing, right? We're anticipating the Zoe R, and then we W time the WEQ with the R to get a beautiful triple shuriken into a one shot. Clean execution. Incredibly clean execution. And look at that. This is that one window that's been presented, takes that opportunity. And that's kind of been the theme of this early lane. There hasn't been a ton of windows, but when those windows have presented themselves, he's really executed. He's really kind of capitalized on those opportunities. So really, really great to see. Now we've got strong wave clear, hard shove the next wave into a clean reset. So we'll see him probably opting in for the Eclipse. Okay, so gone for the Eclipse, which I love. I'm a big fan of Eclipse personally on Zed. It's interesting he's gone for the Eclipse, even though with the Electro Ignite, typically not something you see a ton, but I respect it. And now we're in a great position. Eclipse approaching level 9, Ultimate coming back up in 15 seconds. Briar's doing a pretty good job. Game's looking pretty good here. Game's looking pretty good. We can definitely win trades into this Zoe now. So I'll look maybe over a little bit more of this early lane, and then what we can do is we can kind of get into the mid game here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So comes back to lane, is already swapping to sweeper, which is interesting. So he goes for a really, really nice QR there. Now we can't R because if we R, it's always just going to time it with the bubble because we don't have our W. So we've had to wait for the bubble, hold on to it. Well played. I mean, just doing a really good job of playing around our shadows there. Zoe did a very poor job of keeping distance from our shadows, unfortunately, not anticipating the cooldown reduction to the W. It is what it is. But yeah, Zoe's in a bit of a hole right now, and really beautiful outplay there in the 1v2, relieving pressure from the map. Remember what I said in the previous Emerald Zed, if we're ever, relieving pressure from the map, whether it be dealing with support roams or dealing with these kind of jungle roams, or jungle gang, that's how you're really going to impact the map in a kind of like a roundabout way. You're relieving pressure from the rest of the team. So I've seen enough of the lane. What I want to do now, I want to move into the mid game. This is where I think a lot of people start to kind of capitulate. So we're going to skim forward a little bit here. Bot lane towers are still up, so it's a very more of a slower transition into the mid game here. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at it from here. So let's do a bit of a recap. So we've got 2 items, Eclipse into Voltaic here. Fiora doing a good job. Already got the tier 1, tier 2 top side. This Volibear is fed. Very, very, very strong. An absolute nuisance. Bot lane did a pretty good job though. So a very chaotic skirmish-oriented situation here. Now we're moving into the mid game with no TP. So we've got that Ignite. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays this macro game. The challenge he's going to face is that Volibear has a decent amount of threat onto him. And yeah, this Fiora is going to be a nuisance for us for sure. So already collecting the wave, make Jhin react and shove and hover. Guys, remember what I mentioned before in the previous one? Shoving and hovering out of vision. We're not just sitting in the middle of the lane. We're not just shoving and hovering out of vision. This is what creates these pick windows. So Jhin face checks. Bard R comes through. Very nice Bard R there. Does get bubbled. Oh, poor guy. I mean, well played to Bard. Incredibly good heads-up play. I mean, I love what Zed was trying to do here with the shove and hover, utilizing that sweeper to create fog of war, which then incentivizes Jhin to walk in, and, he's able to get a really nice pick. So we're already seeing a little bit of a contrast there in terms of that shoving and moving, utilization of that fog of war. Okay, so Zoe and Volibear collect that bot tower. We're getting straight back into the side lane here. R coming up in 12 seconds. Okay. So, yeah, still got that fed Volibear. Absolute nuisance. Nico definitely struggling a little bit here. So the mindset we want to really be in here is again, it's one of shoving and moving and trying to find those windows. I mean, and quite honestly, I think we have a strong 1v1 into the Zoe. If we can capitalize on that, that would be great. Interesting that he's choosing to match the Fiora. I wonder what the thought process is here. It does reset. Looks like he's swapping the lane assignments here. So maybe he feels as though he can minimize into Fiora more than the Nico. So he does actively swap those lane assignments. Very interesting. Or maybe he's anticipating that Fiora is going to be wanting to go bot because the towers are down, and he knows that Fiora is going to be going bot side. Maybe that's his intention here. So we'll see how it pans out. Very interesting. Yeah, and look at that. Really good heads up play. So swaps the lane assignments preemptively, knowing that Fura's going to shove that one out, and then Fura's going to want to go bot because Fura's already got this tier 1, tier 2. Fura's going to want to start pressuring this tier 2 then. He doesn't want to face that Fura. So smart move. I mean, I'm assuming that's his intention. I mean, I don't know for certain, but I would assume that's his intention here. So let's freeze frame right now. We have a lot of choices. We can shove and hover, or we can start bullying and increasing our kill threat onto the Zoe. And it probably feels, though, at this stage of the game that he needs to do something a little bit special in the side lane. So he's camping the bush here. Get rid of this. Sorry about that. Camping the bush here, being very patient. We don't know if Zoe's going to commit to the next wave or not. It looks like Zoe Mays, who's really, very, very patient. Zoe understood that something suspicious was going on because Zed wasn't showing on that mid wave. Forces his Zoe back. And look, we don't have much adaptability here, guys. We don't have TP. Even though all these shenanigans are going on, there's not a ton we can do. Good patience on the R there, knowing that he doesn't have W. Now that he has that W, Zoe's holding that bubble beautifully timed bubble. And to be honest, Zed kind of got outplayed there. Yeah, I mean, you can tell that Zed's feeling a little bit pressured. He's feeling kind of panicked a little bit, in my opinion, because he doesn't really know probably what the win condition is with the Fed Fury and that Volley Bear, and they're probably struggling in fights at the moment. So what Zoe did a really, really good job of here is holding that bubble the entire time. And you can see how Zed's trying to incentivize Zoe to go for the bubble so he can time his R with the bubble. But Zoe held it. He's learned his lesson. Beautiful rocket belt. Hold into the insta bubble. Pixel perfect timing, and then he's able to clean up. So well played to Zoe. Zoe played that really, really, really well. Yeah, and so the question that I would typically get from a lot of Zed players at this point in time is like, what do I do? How do I navigate the mid game at this stage of the game? And quite honestly, there would be two responses. Obviously, an element of creativity with shoving and moving and trying to find opportunistic man advantages is going to be quite big. But the real question is, why are we 5 deaths moving into the game at 20 minutes? That's the real question. What happened there? That would be kind of a big part of my big question. And then also it's like, well, realistically, you didn't go conk, you went electro, so your scaling's a little bit worse, your flexibility in the mid game's a little bit worse, and the question is, you haven't really got a significant lead moving into the mid game with the electro and ignite. To kind of maybe warrant that ignite, and this is one of the challenges you face. But yeah, so like I said, I think shoving and moving, I think probably trying to get a bit creative, trading off neutral objectives. So it goes into the side lane. Atakan is up on the other side of the map, dragging this Zoe to the side. I mean, I would probably be looking for shove and moves mid here personally, trying to make a pick on mid with the rel potentially. It looks like maybe he's planning on just trading off the Atakan for a top play. Zoe doing a very good job utilizing those balls to get bubbles. Quite honestly, it is a hard game. It's just a very, very hard game. He's losing Prio mid. They're losing control on mid. Briar's not really offering much, doesn't have much threat, and Nico's getting pumped in the side lane. So this is just one of those very difficult games. He's trying to find those opportunities, does face tank the bubble, but is able to execute it beautifully on the back end by just getting the quick combo off. Very well played. And look, this is what he has to do. He has to do something in the 1v1. He's the only saving grace here. Right? Because Nico's not going to get prio. The MF's not getting prio on mid. He's the only person in this game that can create some semblance of pressure and a man advantage. So does have that third item here. Has a bit of tempo over the Zoe. Doesn't have R for 30 seconds. So well played. Very clutch play on top side. Very well played mechanically. And this is creating a window for him to maybe make something happen. So here we go. Comes in. I mean, this is your opportunity. And great. Just like that. Through that 1v1 solo kill in the side lane, is able to come in and create a bit of a man advantage play. Now straight back into the side lane. And this is where we can start generating tempo and playing the game on our terms. So we need to be dragging the Zoe to the side lane and either shoving and moving away from the Zoe to create man advantages or killing the Zoe in the side lane. I think, Laceration here has kind of realized that he's not going to win this game by slowing it down and scaling and team fighting. He's got to win it by dragging or leveraging his advantage into the Zoe here. So shoves out the wave here, starting to kind of get really quite strong. He might be able to get a pick here in rotation. Great utilization of the sweeper. Zoe's not rotating. Oh, such a shame. Does get the kill. but misses that WQ. Well played. Yeah, okay. So look, you can see the intention. You can kind of see what he's doing in between the waves. He's staying out of fog. The enemy don't know where he is, and he sees that Fura was low. We try to get that pick on rotation. I love how he doesn't start with R. W's first, holds the Q, anticipating that Fura is going to riposte the entire WQ combo, and so baits it out. Just needed to hold on to that Q a little bit longer, but not too bad. I mean, look, if we're killing the Fura, I think that's really, really, really good for us. Okay, so fast forwarding, wait till he goes back onto this other deployment here. We'll take a look at one more deployment. So we're now on 4 items, incredibly strong. This spell shield is really going to help our team fighting and skirmishing even in the 1v1 with the Zoe for the bubble. Goes for a bit of a shadow mid here. Is looking for a bit of an opportunistic pick on the Jhin. Doesn't want to be dealing with the Fiora in the side lane. Baron is coming up in about 50 seconds, so he has a choice. He can go bot and try to drag that Zoe to the side, or he can try to make a man advantage play right now while Zoe's in the side lane. So here we go. We actually have an opportunity to fight. This Volibear is an absolute nuisance. And we just can't fight. He can't engage. He needs other people to engage, and unfortunately not able to find that engage window. Briar was dead though, so maybe didn't feel comfortable playing the 4v4. No hesitation. Goes in, knows he can't get one shot. Beautiful execution. I love the no hesitation. That's something that I've really been impressed by in this game, is how decisive he is. He knows you can tell he's really utilizing his lull states and know exactly what he can and can't do. And he's really like, he's not thinking, oh, if Zoe gets here, what do I do? He's like, no, as soon as Zoe shows, I'm going to go in. So very, very decisive. So again, maybe able to create another window here. Maybe able to create another window here to create a bit of a man advantage. So I'm instantly deploying bot side. Maybe calling bullshit on the enemy not doing Baron. Deploying straight onto bot here. Very interesting. So again, like you have 2 options here. You could be like, all right, I want to shadow top side. Try to make a pick while Zoe's kind of dead. But that's hard because we don't have ultimate. Or we can go bot. Maybe force Zoe to TP. Or just walk here. And then we can shove and move away from the Zoe. If not even kill the Zoe again. So you can kind of see that he's probably willing to even give the Baron or like force the enemy to go for a flip Baron because it's the best play that he can possibly make. So tries to go for an all-in here. Can't quite get it done. The enemy's going for a flip Baron. He's trying to use his Fog of War again and make a pick in rotation. Good hold. Really, really good hold on the W there. The enemy does get Baron. So you can kind of see that, he doesn't have many options. Like he's very, very, this is a hard Zed game. His team's losing control and he's willing to be like, okay, let my team go for the flip. Worst case scenario, if they get Baron, I can drag them around the map. And maybe if they trade kills, I can get some towers and again, create some man advantages. And quite honestly, it's a 2 for 3 total, right? With them killing the Zoe. And, it's probably the best case scenario. It's probably the best he can do. So he ends up sneaking the dragon as well on the back end hand. We'll take a look at one more deployment here. Lovely. We're on 4 items still. He must be sitting on a decent amount of gold. Yeah, so he looks like he's going to probably be completing a straight. Maybe I wonder he'll probably go Shojin, I'm assuming, last item. We'll see what he goes. I mean, he could. Yeah, I don't think going more lethality would make sense. I think Shojin would be nice. So gets Krugs. We'll see what he goes for his last item here. Okay, so he ends up going for the Axiom Arc. So we'll take a look at the last fight. Here we go. Fiora's on top side. Fiora doesn't have TP. No hesitation. Man advantage. Go, go, go. He actually just plays for the front line because it's the only way he can play the fight. He doesn't have the ability to get onto the back line. Next target. Fiora's not here yet. Ripping up our base, though, unfortunately. And now it's turning into a bit of a flip here. So what I would really want to take away from this mid-game for the average Zed player is, and I guess the caliber of the intention. He was constantly trying to leverage his advantage into the Zoe. He was utilizing Fog of War and shoving and hovering and looking for creative picks in the mid-game with that sweeper, which was really great to see. He was willing to trade off things. He wasn't running around the map like a headless chicken. He wasn't overcompensating when his R was on cooldown. And he did a really good job of just like executing those very decisive plays. Early lane fundamentals were great. And I think that I was very, very impressed with how he navigated dealing with the Zoe bubbles. So, guys, there's no secret. There's a big difference between these ranks. We can kind of see it pretty outright. Hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be getting through more champions. Otherwise, we'll see you for another video soon. Cheers, guys. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you're looking to learn more about Zed or the macro game or where Zed fits in a solo queue tier list, you can go ahead and check out our Skool community. There's a link below. We've got climbing masterclasses, we've got a champ pool masterclass, and solo queue tier list for every single role. Check it out. It's completely free. Link in the description. Cheers.